So the reason I'm laughing is more light, more light, more light, more light, more light. This is take two. I actually recorded this and it poofed. It just sort of disappeared. So here I am doing it again. This is lesson 15 of a workbook of A Course in Miracles. My thoughts are images I have made, and the thoughts and the images I just made are completely gone. So we're going to do this again. So my thoughts are images that I have made. It is because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. You think them, and so you think you see them. And this is really telling you that your thinking sort of useless, actually. This is how your seeing was made. This is the function you have given the body's eyes. It is not seeing, it is image making. It takes the place of seeing, replacing vision with illusions. Early on, when Jesus began to speak to Helen, he didn't use the term Holy Spirit, and he didn't use the term ego. He used the term spiritual eye, which eventually became Holy Spirit, and he used the term body's eyes, which eventually became the ego. And one of the things that we're told is that by an act of will, we closed our spiritual eye to the light, thereby losing the ability to see with the light of the mind of Christ. We close our spiritual eye to that light, and it's going to take an act of will, another decision. We have to go back and decide and actively begin to use our spiritual sight rather than the body's eyes. And of course, that's going to take practice because we've been so long used to using the body's eyes as a means of seeing. And what we're told here, that it's not seeing at all. It's literally seeing nothing and giving it a meaning. So today will be one of the first steps in reopening our spiritual eye to the light and the ability to use vision in the place and places where we previously would have relied on the body's eyes and the hierarchy of illusion based on a hierarchy of need that we establish, and allow our mind to think that the seemingly discrete images that we see in separation and the association that we form between them that allows us to hold our world together has anything to do with vision and right-mindedness, because it absolutely doesn't. It is the bar. It is the antithesis of vision, and it is what we made to take the place of vision. So I think the important direction here is toward the end of the lesson, where he says, it is not necessary to include a large number of specific subjects for the application of today's idea. It is necessary, however, to continue to look at each subject while you repeat the idea to yourself. The idea should be repeated quite slowly. Now, what we're going to do is you're going to look at an object, you're going to look at something, and with the understanding that your thoughts, my thoughts, are images that I have made, we're going to begin to recognize that that's not seeing at all. And as we allow our minds to comfortably sink into that idea, what will begin to happen is the images that we've made will begin to give way, and we will begin to see light around the edges of that which we are looking on and recognizing as mirror images, and begin to allow the light of our minds to shine forth as we see the truth of the light reality of everything real, and leave behind the idea that the images we're looking at have a reality outside of our mind, outside of the association of thoughts that we've used to hold our world together, and recognize that they're nothing. As he says, you think them, so you think you see them, and that's how seeing was made. That's how the body's eyes began to be utilized as a manner of operating in the world. But you're merely seeing nothing. You're merely seeing your own thoughts projected outside of you as images to take the place of the reality of the truth of who we are and our creative reality, our real world, let's call it for a second. That's really behind all the images that we hold in our mind as the world in which we operate in. The old man, the master teacher, an old teacher of mine, he used to call it altar light. And as you begin to allow your mind to light upon things with the recognition that it's not the image that you want to see anymore, but it's the light, you will begin to see light around the edges, the altar light that you bring with you, because you are the light of the world. There's some interesting ideas that are presented to us along the way. As we go along, you may have many light episodes. They're going to take many forms, some of them quite unexpected. Do not be afraid of them. They are signs that you are opening your eyes at last. They will not persist because they merely symbolize true perception, and they are not related to knowledge. These exercises, and remember this, these exercises will not reveal knowledge to you, but they will prepare the way to it. In A Course in Miracles, in the text, we're reminded that the goal of the Course isn't knowledge. The goal of the Course is to bring us into a condition of peace of mind. And in the condition of peace of mind, when we are no longer preoccupied with the world, the images that we've made, and we've stopped, in a sense, accepting the meaning that we have given them in the world, and we begin to allow ourselves to sink into our reality, which is whole, perfect, eternal, infinite love, peace, let's call it. We begin to recognize the kingdom and the laws by which everything is really created, and the laws by which we truly operate. And then as we begin to, let's call it, have the kingdom revealed to us, the laws of the kingdom revealed to us, what happens is we have a new modus operandi, and new principles that we can utilize in our lives right here, right now, in this seeming condition of being a spatial and temporal being, let's call it a body. And as we familiarize ourselves and begin to utilize the laws of the kingdom, we begin to reestablish the recognition in our own minds and hearts of who we truly are, where we truly are, and we eliminate the fear of the reality and God that we've been so afraid of since that tiny tick of time in which the idea of separation took the place of our creation, of our reality, and that we've been so fearful to revisit again. So these lessons or gentle way of retraining our mind to allow us to recognize where we could only be and where we have always been, and the reality of that, the truth of who we are, as superseding any world and the laws of the world at all. We begin to operate by the laws of the kingdom rather than to have to operate by the laws of the world, which actually are bars to the prison house we've we've sort of exiled ourselves to. So this, I think, is an important lesson. Remember, don't be afraid. We've been living in a condition of darkness wherein which we've made images to take the place of our reality so as to not be fearful of where we find ourselves and think that we have some sort of control over it. So each and every one of us has formed a hierarchy of illusion based on need. And that's what causes us to see things individually and also project onto everything our own thinking and our own seeing, as if that which we're projecting on, we're projecting our hierarchy of illusion, our hierarchy of need onto our brothers, thinking that because we see it outside of us, in them, it is what they are and how they are operating. When in fact, that is not what they are at all. That's what we make them into in order to continue to avoid our own reality and their reality as well as ours. So I think it's interesting in this lesson that he does use the term body's eyes rather than ego. And that, as I said in the beginning of the Course in Miracles, when Jesus was talking to Helen, he refers to the fact that we willfully made a decision to close our mind to the light, to close our spiritual eye to the light, and now we must once again go back and decide that we would prefer to begin to see with the light of Christ in our mind by utilizing the corrective principle, which is the Holy Spirit, to view everything rather than to continue to operate within the images, the associations in our own mind make that take the place of the reality that we are actually wholly a part of and could never be separate from. So, this is a good lesson, and I think it's an important one. I think you should read it. We should read it a couple times during the day to begin to understand what we're actually being asked. Toward the end of the course, toward the end of the lessons, we're told that there are no longer any formal lessons planned, and it is the Holy Spirit that will bring us the lessons that each and every one of us needs to learn in order for us to undo the association, that hierarchy of need, that hierarchy of illusion that we have established in our mind to take the place of the singular vision of the Christ mind, which we are all one with. Remember, Jesus tells Helen, if you want to be as I am and act as I am, we must begin to use the same mind. The single, whole, perfect mind of Christ is what we all are and what we are all utilizing. And his denial of that power as it was given to us and the utilization of that power to make images and use the body's eyes that deny us the singular vision of the wholeness and perfection in which we and all things were created in. So today is a way in which we're learning beginning stages of the restoration of true sight, of true vision, to our minds and our hearts, so that we can begin to see there's actually nothing to fear. One of the reasons why these light episodes can be quite frightening and quite disturbing to what we consider our lives, or our peace of mind. And generally speaking, the peace of mind that the human being is looking for is just a moment's respite where they don't have to think about everything, all the problems that they've made, a timeout in a sense. And this is going to afford us a true timeout to show us that all the things that we made and we've been fearful of don't really exist at all, except in this hierarchy of illusion based on a hierarchy of need. And because we were created whole, perfect, and with everything, we're really not in a condition of need. So a condition of need is a denial of reality. So we're seeing everything through the eyes of denial rather than through the wholeness of the vision of Christ, which is all available to us. Now, when we begin to see with the vision of our Christ mind through the utilization of the correction and the corrective nature of the Holy Spirit, which is our spiritual sight, when we reopen our mind to the light and begin to use spiritual sight, we begin to recognize the oneness and the all-pervasive singular nature of the reality that we're created to be. Love. The totality of reality is love. When we begin to see that all is love, we begin to lose our fear of ourselves, our brothers, and our reality. But we are initially, when our minds are not trained, and we have these spontaneous episodes of light that cause us to question the entirety of our association that we've made of ourselves in the world of space and time, it can be quite fearful, because we think that by holding together these associations and having all our ducks in order, we actually control our destiny and have the ability to keep fear at bay, because we think we know what we're doing and we think we know what everything is. So when that's challenged by a momentary light incursion, the ego immediately feels the loss of the grip it's had on you, and will do anything at all, cause all manner of interpretation of sensation, which can only be caused by love. Since there is only love, everything that happened to us, all the sensations, is just merely love rising up. And the uneasiness of the onset of love, when we've so long forgotten what it is, can cause us great consternation, anxiety, and fear, because it feels like we're losing who we are rather than regaining the certainty of our reality of being whole and perfect and living in the kingdom of heaven. And that's how we associate or transform all of our thinking and all of our world and all of our self back and integrate into the reality that we actually never left. So remember that my thoughts, these thoughts are your thoughts, our thoughts are images that we've made. And while at first you will be fearful, the fear will not persist, because the understanding and the knowledge will come to help us see that our reality is light, and it's not based on this illusion of images, the hierarchy of illusions based on the condition of need that we thought we existed in, and we thought we had to solve the problem of. So that'll be today's lesson, and have a grateful day.